everyone. Welcome to your BayWa webinar today with our wonderful partner, Keen. And we're going to discuss how you can add HVAC revenue without any adding of any overhead. So today I'm joined by John Pitcavage with ProLine HVAC, advisor to Keen Labs. Hi, John.
Hi.
And we have Ryan Lane with Keen Sales and Business Development. Thank you, Ryan, for being here.
You're
And we have
very
Jordan
welcome to know.
Pacheco. Hi. And we have Jordan Pacheco. He is the Director of Vendor Programs. Hi, Jordan. Thank you for being here.
Thanks. Thanks for having me. This is going to be fun.
It's going to be great fun. So while everyone is logging on, just a little bit of housekeeping. So you'll see the Q&A section. That's your most important section for today. So this is how you can raise all your questions, post any comments. That's your direct line to us. I'll review those questions as we go along and make sure to ask them as they fit into the presentation. So please use the Q&A. The chat is there as well. That's not really for communicating other than really important resources. So in a moment, you're going to see some links there, how you can get in touch with us, and any important links like how you can get to our web store and further resources. All right, so let's jump right in. Before we start, let's talk a little bit about BayWa, who BayWa is, and what working with BayWa could mean for you. So your success is not just supported by working with BayWa, your success is the priority. And how we can enable you to enhance your business operations and to drive your success, you can see here on this slide. There's a whole lot of tools and guidance and support that you can benefit from by working with us. So let's talk about forecasting. So smarter planning, stay ahead of any demand with accurate forecasting and your dedicated account manager who always has your back. Purchasing is easy through our state-of-the-art web store. So you can streamline your operations and procurement with a user-friendly web store with real-time pricing, immediate ordering capabilities. There is no friction and there are no delays. Commercial services. You can tap into our expert planning with our team and precise inventory forecasting to keep your commercial jobs running smoothly from design all the way to delivery. Consistent pricing, that's a big one. You can rely on stable pricing across all strategically located US warehouses. There are no surprises, no hidden fees, all consistent here available for you. And you can also access the products you need quickly thanks to those warehouses just mentioned across the country with direct job site delivery as well. So you can have your products directly delivered to your job or construction site, which will save you time and giving some extra steps. So that is it in a nutshell. So if you are US-based installer not yet working with us, make sure you check the links in the chat and reach out to us. We are looking forward to being in touch with you. And that's it from me. Without further ado, let me hand it over to Ryan. Ryan, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our combination webinar between Keen and BayWa. I hope that this is something that you're excited about because I think that what we have to offer together is something that will greatly benefit your business if you decide to step into it. What I first want to do is introduce myself, and then I'll introduce John, my counterpart. I have been in the solar industry for quite some time, 18 years now, and have adapted and adopted the HVAC heat pump component as part of the electrification of the residential home. And what we've designed is a product that leads the world in efficiency, and it's paired with a software platform that allows any contractor to step into this and breaks down the barriers of entry to understanding and becoming a very quick professional in the HVAC space. So as many of you will be coming from the solar industry, this will pair extremely well with a solar or electrification product suite, allowing for a new business stream and a new revenue to your existing business. John, I'd like to hand it over to you and let you introduce yourself.
Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, my name's John Pickavage, as Ryan said earlier. I represent the ProLine product line as well as an advisor to the Keen Labs and the Keen Heat Pump product line. The interesting thing about me is that I've been in your shoes. I've owned a solar company in the past. I sold it about 5 years ago. That company added in heating and cooling and other products and services that we're going to talk about later on in this presentation. And I have gone through all the challenges that you guys have gone through, building up a business, dealing with difficult customers, dealing with credit lines and finance companies that struggle to pay on time. And at the end of the day, the goal here is to make money when we're in business. And that's the point of this presentation, is to kind of learn from the past and apply it to the future. And so that's who I am. I'm excited to share with you some of the stories that I have from my past and a couple of companies that I've sold and built up along the way. And hopefully we could grow together by going through this. If we can move on to the next slide here, you'll see we've built solar and HVAC companies. We've built energy auditing and installation companies. There's a lot of mistakes that have been made along the way, but the goal from anything is to learn from the past and, to apply it to the future, so that way we could be more profitable. We have a poll question right now, just to kind of break things up. So Daniela, are you the one that introduces the poll questions?
Yes, let's do it. Let's see who is attending today. So what best describes your company? Once we launch the poll, you have an opportunity to respond. Residential solar installer, commercial solar installer, both residential and commercial, roofing, electrical contractor, or other, and you can post that in the Q&A. So please just cast your vote. We want to know who you are so we can tailor the presentation to you and understand what perspective you are coming from. So I cannot see the results come in right now. So everybody, if you could cast your vote. Let's see. There you go. Perfect. So it looks like there's a bunch of others. I'd love to know what others is. So please post it in the Q&A. Other than that, residential, both residential and commercial, it seems like we have a good mix here today. John, what do you think? This is good, right? There's opportunities for everyone, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
All right.
Yeah, so when it comes down to it, the solar market, as everybody knows, has gotten harder. There's a lot of different things that have been thrown at you this year that, it's challenging from a business perspective. And if we move on to the next slide, the question is what can we do to make life a little bit easier? You guys already own an electrification company, and an electrification company can do a lot of things. They can do anything that has to do with electricity. And the fact is your customers are your biggest asset. You spend many years building up a solar company or whatever company that you specialize in, and you have this customer base that you could sell to multiple products. And if you're only selling them one or two products, you're likely missing out on a future opportunity to grow your company. And so the goal here is for us to provide all the tools to give you the business plan so that way you could have success. For me personally, because I've sold other companies, I have certain non-competes that don't allow me to create new companies. But there's nothing in my non-compete that says I can't teach other people on how to build up their companies. And so this is an opportunity for me to teach you guys my business plan, how I built up $10 million companies and sold them off. And they all tied together. They all had to do with electrification. They all had to do with solar, heating and cooling, energy auditing, everything that has to do with electrification. And so the next slide goes into some of the products that you guys could be offering. So some of you likely offer solar because we're here with BayWa and that's what they specialize in, but they also sell batteries and other products. Some of you may come from roofing, some of you may come from different angles, but there's a lot of products here that are all tied together. And so when you look at it, the question is how much of this are we monetizing? Solar PV, $40,000-$50,000 project. Battery storage could be a $10,000 to $20,000 project. Heat pumps on average are 15 to 25,000. If you're in Florida, maybe $7,000, and if you're in Massachusetts, maybe 35,000. But there's a healthy range that falls in line with the same numbers of these other product categories. And so the question is are you monetizing them? And if not, why not? Do you need help on marketing? Do you need help on the advertising strategy to drive in these customers? Or maybe you just don't know the price points. And so through the rest of this presentation, we're going to be talking very specifically about those price points, about how to sell to these customers. We're happy to even help you create your presentation to show to a customer on why they should buy heat pumps. That's the category that we're going to be focused on today because that's what we represent. The next slide, I think, jumps into those specific numbers. Daniela, I think you guys put this slide in. Do you want to go over it or do you want me to just
Yeah,
to
I'm
take
on
it?
this one, John.
Jordan? Great.
Yeah, so as John mentioned, it's been a super turbulent time. You're seeing a lot of folks hop into different lanes in terms of revenue diversification. And this isn't simply about slinging gear for customers, right? This is about answering core questions. A lot of them have asks about PVE, storage, etc. But really, it funnels down to a fundamental need for the customer, and usually that's around lowering a utility bill, or creating a more energy efficient presence within their communities. And this is a way for you to address that, as an installer, to be able to walk in and provide whole home. And we focus a lot on the energy production side, standby energy as well. Here's an opportunity for you to kind of come in on the consumption side. And HVAC represents more than 50% of the average utility bill for a resident. So you're being presented with an opportunity to take on the largest consuming category in terms of energy within that home. So by addressing HVAC, or at least having the conversation around it, at its core, you are addressing the customer's main issue. And as John said, whether it's, you're starting off as just PV and then going into storage, EV, smart panels, and HVAC, there's a huge revenue opportunity. You folks know, especially those that are working with sales orgs, those customer leads aren't cheap. And so the only way that you can make this a better situation is either lower the costs that you're paying per lead or increase revenue per opportunity. And that's what you are being presented with here. With a lot of these other categories, it's not too far of a segue away from solar. HVAC may feel like it's a bit, more of a jump. And it actually is a pretty complicated process to jump from PV into HVAC. And the opportunity that we see with Keen here is that they have basically knocked all of those barriers down. And I believe the Keen team is going to walk into that. Going to the next slide.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Jordan. Yeah, and John, both of you, looking into where the opportunity is and how much extra revenue is actually available through one customer that you already have. So let's jump into the next poll question. Which products do you currently sell? So now we want to know, are you familiar with some of the things that we just talked about? Are you currently selling solar PV, battery storage, EV chargers, roofing, HVAC, smart electric panels, generators, home energy monitoring, or other? So again, if there's something that is not mentioned here, you can let us know in the Q&A. If we could see the poll and the answers coming in, that would be wonderful. Give it another moment. Cast your vote, please. You can choose multiple answers here, of course. You might already cover some of those categories mentioned here. If you could see the results come in. There it is. Solar PV 100%, that's not very surprising. Battery storage, very high. Yeah, we have smart electric panels as a category 3, EV chargers, and HVAC. There seems to be quite some potential, and generators too. Thank you guys for casting your vote. Let's jump back to our presentation.
John, if you don't mind, I'd like to just
Yep.
step in for one sec. I noticed on there that there wasn't anyone that was offering roofing. And one of the things that I would like to share is that inside of the platform that we've built, you can utilize a roofing tool, a tech tool, to simplify the process of adding the cost of a roof to a solar project. In my expertise and 18 years of experience, I identified that 28% of the projects that I built solar required a new roof. And that if you're just handing that off to a roofing partner, is a missed opportunity for gaining that revenue. I'd imagine we're probably all in the Northeast here, but we were averaging about $18,000 per roof, and that sits with about a 20 to 25% gross profit margin on that model for what I did, and that was at scale, running about 12 megawatts of residential solar per year. So there is a great opportunity there as well, and I do believe that that definitely fits into the home electrification um, because you are gaining efficiency by putting on a more efficient and new roof.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a great
And
point. Thank you.
the one unique thing about the heating and cooling side, Jordan mentioned how it's a little challenging, and HVAC in general is challenging because depending on the territory, you can have oil, propane, electric, all sorts of fuel sources driving a heating system. But when it comes to the product that we're carrying, it's air source heat pumps. Now, air source heat pumps are very simple. They use electricity, so it's something you guys are already familiar with. And on average, it takes 12 solar panels to offset the increased amount of electricity that a home would have switching from natural gas to air source heat pumps. So what does that do for you guys? It allows you to sell more solar to offset that extra energy consumption from the heating and cooling system. And you don't have to worry about the complications of traditional heating and cooling because we're not dealing with boiler systems. We're not dealing with complicated ducting systems. We're focused on ductless. Ductless air source heat pumps are the easiest systems to install. You could take a kid who's coming out of high school or out of a tech school, and you could give them a week's worth of training and have them ready to go to install a system. They won't be the best. You probably want to pair them with somebody who knows what they're doing. And within 3 to 6 months, they could be a crew lead if they're really good at what they do. So it's not like you need 15 years experience to be good at air source heat pumps, especially ductless air source heat pumps. And I think that's the focus here of picking a product line that's really simple. So that way it's not complicated to bring it on. I think we have one more poll question here that ties in with this.
Yeah. So we would like to know, what is your biggest concern about adding HVAC? Is it licensing? Is it training technicians? Design and load calculations? Installations? Warranty and service? Sales process? Inventory? Or cash flow? Again, you can choose more than one if that relates to you. So what is your biggest concern? What's the biggest obstacle? And by casting your vote, we have an opportunity to discuss and address some of those obstacles. So cast your vote now. A couple more seconds. And let's look at the result. Okay. So all categories except for inventory and cash flow. That's interesting. But the biggest concern is training technicians, design, load calculations, and installation. I'd love to have your response here, John and Ryan. How do you comment on these results?
Yeah, they're worried about everything. That makes sense. It's new to them. So that's not surprising. And that ties into the next slide that we could jump right into, which is most companies that bring on a new product line, they're worried about, the process of being able to handle the whole process for themselves. I mean, when it comes down to it, licensing is always a concern for people. But if licensing is simple, now it's moving on to the next step. This is like trade secrets. This is understanding what is the process. And this is where, we're helping everybody out to be able to teach them the process. Daniela, we have a hand raised. Are we answering questions right now? Maybe that was an accident. So I'll keep going unless somebody cuts me off. So, the path to becoming an HVAC company or adding HVAC into your normal process has all of these different steps. And it's concerning because each one of them, if you mess it up, you kind of fail. And this is where we're taking a lot of this away from you. And if we move on to the next slide, on the Keen Connect platform, the whole point of it is to provide assistance every step of the way. Some of the steps we just take away from you because you don't need it. For example, we have partners on the platform that they know how to sell, but they don't know how to install. And that kind of goes with any company, has the ability to sell, and they don't necessarily know how to install. And so we provide those types of services where we'll connect you to a contractor that's nearby. We deal with the negotiation of the pricing so that way you know exactly what it's going to cost you. And we handle that side of it because you're not the experts at negotiating the pricing, but we are. We provide a manual J heat load calculation tool so that way you could size out a system. We provide proposal tools, sales tools. These are all things that you'd have to figure out yourself, pay for a subscription, and find it out. And with this relationship with BayWa, they're paying for that subscription for you. And so it's worth taking advantage of it because there's no cost to you to be able to hop on the platform, utilize its benefits, learn a new product line with our help, and then have a whole another revenue stream coming into your business.
I like to say that the cost of the platform is the loyalty to BayWa. We're partnered with them so that our product line is pushed through their distribution network. And to couple that, we break down so many of the barriers to entry together that we're making the addition of this revenue stream to your business as simple as it could possibly be. This is decades of culmination between the intelligences that built the entire construct of the system, where we've designed it from the solar mentality. We come from solar. So when you think of like designing a system, we all think like maybe through a process like Aurora, where you're speccing out a system, figuring out how many panels fit on a roof and how many kilowatt hours we generate from that. And we have developed similar systems where for a heating load or a cooling load for a home, it requires a manual J calculation, and our system will literally allow you to put in very basic information similar to Aurora about a residential home, and it'll outline and dictate exactly what those loads required for that heating and cooling position for the home are, whether it's whole house block loads or whether it's broken down room by room for mini splits.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you so much, Ryan. If I could jump in here real quick, like your partnership in this is really appreciated because it makes it super easy for our installers to add this revenue without having to address any of those aspects that you showed in the previous slide that are challenging to overcome.
Yeah,
So
we greatly
it's
appreciate that. And the intent here is to build an ecosystem for modernizing the home and doing that through electrification. And it just pairs so explicitly well with the products that we currently offer as a solar industry, from solar panels to batteries to all the products that we've already looked at. But the heat pump itself does address, like Jordan mentioned, the largest energy use of the home. And this puts the control back in the customer's hands by pairing it with solar on their entire energy usage.
Yeah. The next two slides, we're going to get into.
Can I just,
sorry, what's that, Danielle?
One second. Yes. So I was on mute. So please put your questions in the Q&A so we can actually address them. So instead of raising your hand, just pop them in the Q&A and I'll make sure we can address them. Thanks, John. Back to you.
Yeah, no problem. So the next two slides, we're going to go over some of the tools that have been developed for you so that way you could understand what we're providing at no cost, or I should say through BayWa's relationship with you. The first slide, these are free open source tools. So anybody could go there right now. You could go to that website, click on the QR code or scan the QR code and go to the website. And this quite literally is a $10 million business in a box that we're handing to you, because these tools were developed from tools from the last company that I had sold, and they were put basically here for you to use. It starts with a glossary and visual reference section, and it just kind of gets you used to the terminology. Then there's sales tools, there's design tools, there's even a marketing hub. There's all sorts of information in there to help you along the way to understand the product line as well as the process. And some of these things are even contracts that have recommended sale price points. So that way you may say to yourself, well, I want to sell it, but I have no clue how to price this out. There's actually recommended price points already in the system. So that way you could design a system and make a recommendation to a customer, know there's enough profit in there for you to make some money. On the next slide.
John, one other note, if you don't mind. And I just because as a salesperson, I'm thinking that's great. I got the pricing, but what does that look like and how does that work? Do I have to create a proposal? all of those items have been thought through. We've literally designed unique individual tools that go from the design side. So you're going through a design phase, then you're going to a system allocation phase where it's sizing it appropriately. From that point, it goes into a pricing tool, which are all independent tools inside of the Keen Tool Lab. However, it's all one tool when we get into the software. From that, it takes all of that information and builds out a beautiful customer-facing proposal that can be click signed, emailed to the homeowner. It's extremely simple. So when you look at this from start to finish, once you've gone through a sales training, your sales teams or you or whoever does that customer-facing customer acquisition in your company can start the conversation with HVAC, walk through a 5 to 10 minute slide deck, and then generate a custom proposal for HVAC replacement for their entire home in 5 to 8 minutes. It's a very short, quick presentation, and it's intuitive. It's very intelligent. It draws from publicly available data about their home. People will be surprised to see their exact square footage show up on the screen. It's very impressive, and it does wrap everything into one. It's all encompassing. So you do not have to figure out any other details. It does everything for you.
Yeah, the next slide talks about the same thing, but it's a login environment. So I think at this point it'd be good for me to share my screen and kind of show the tools live and how quick it is, because I know that's probably the number one question. I know how to design a solar system for a roof, but I don't know how to design an HVAC system. So let me share my screen really quickly and just kind of show you how this would work. All right. So this is Keen Home Pro. So we just talked about this website. And on this website, you can see there's a button right here called Visit the Learning Hub.
John, I have to put in a plug here. If you do log into this site, there is such a wealth of knowledge that can be gained from the top left, the glossary and visual references. You can become a pro by understanding and learning all of those terminology and vernacular. Just wanted to point that out quick.
That's right. So you go to the Learning Hub, all the vernaculars here in the glossary and visual reference. We have sales tools. We have a system builder right here to help you design a system. And all these tools are here. Again, there's no login for all of these. I'm going to switch over now. I think I have to actually stop sharing and resharing. So sorry for the inconvenience here. Let me share my other screen. And this is the login environment. So once you join the platform, let's see here. And it doesn't look like that worked. So let me just do it on here. Maybe it did. Brian, can you see the heat load calculator?
Yep, it's
Okay.
right there. You're good.
All right, so here on the heat load calculation tool, it's right inside the login environment. And this tool exists in the free tool as well. But if you do it inside of here, you could save it just like a traditional CRM and then have your data saved for your customer information. And this is how simple it is to design a home for a customer. So we have to type in an address. There's a Walnut Street in every, I think, city in America.
John, if you want to use the one that we traditionally use in Mass,
No, that's fine. I'll
Okay.
pick a random house.
Yep.
And here we have Fort Shrewsbury and everything locked up. If you guys could still hear me.
We can hear you.
Okay.
You're good.
My screen's locked up, so I can't see what's going on. Just give my computer 1 second. Okay, here we go. That wasn't the software, by the way. That was a laptop issue. And here it shows you the amount of BTUs that the home needs. So it needs 44,000 BTUs of heating, 30,000 BTUs of cooling. And when we're talking BTUs, it's similar to kilowatt hours. You're just trying to find out how many kilowatt hours do you need to offset? Well, in this situation, how many BTUs do you need to offset? So it's a very easy transition going from solar terminology to HVAC terminology to swap out kilowatt hours with BTUs.
One quick thing, just because that we lost a little bit in between transition there.
Yep.
All of this data is extracted from publicly available data. We mentioned that before, but when you enter the address, it's pulling that from online resources through permitting databases, through Redfin and Zillow, and places where you'll find kind of like realtor stuff. This is all happening on the back end. It's pulling that data so that you can utilize it in this capacity, and then it's layering in the technology of identifying what that that load calculation needs to be. It happens all by itself. You don't need to
That's
do
right.
anything more. The only additional inputs are just a few data points to get everything precise.
And if the home has a central system, you're pretty much done. You already know what the whole home needs. In the Northeast, where we're focusing on the rollout with BayWa, the focus here is on ductless. And with ductless, you need to do a room by room calculation. So all you need to do is go around the home, and you could take public record information to prepare beforehand, because Zillow and a lot of other resources already have this information, but not all of them. But you enter the room's information. So call it 300 square feet for this room on this level, with how many windows it has and how many exterior walls it has. You add the room, and then you just keep building it out. Now it's going to tell you that that room needs 8,900 BTUs of heating, 6,900 BTUs of cooling, and then you move right on to the next one. And so this is how you would build out a whole house. So within 5 minutes, you could have a whole home built out. We're not going to go through the exercise right now, but it gives you an idea. This room needs this much, this room needs that much, the total home needs that much, and it's counting down for you.
When you do sign up for an onboarding training, we will go through this itemized one at a time and show you how all of that system works.
That's right. So you take a room that needs 8,900 BTUs of heating capacity, and you find a piece of equipment that matches it. This one puts out 9,000 BTUs of heating capacity. Great. Let's add it to the project. It talks about the breaker size for it, the line set size, gives you all the information that you need for installation, and then you move on to the next step in the process. So we're not going to go through and design a whole system, but you're like 95% done right at that step. You save it, it's now inside the customer CRM, and you move on to the next step, which would be pricing. So this is the part of the process where it's very simple. We've taken an incredibly complicated industry and made it as simple as physically possible using all the experience that we have. So we could go back to the slide deck now. That's just a part of the CRM that we wanted to show to everybody. And I think we have another poll question. That's right.
Yes. So how do you currently handle customers asking about HVAC? Do you have customers? And if they do ask for it, you can, like, we refer them anyway. We subcontract. We sell our own HVAC. We simply say no, or we haven't been asked. So if you could make one choice here, how you handle any kind of customer requests that come in. Give it a couple more seconds. Just click one, choose one. And for any commentary, you can refer to the Q&A, let us know. Okay, let's see the results. Okay, so we've referred them away. Huge opportunity here. Half of the people that participated in the poll said we refer them away. We subcontract is another. We simply say no. So, John, Ryan, commentary here?
Yeah, it's common. I'm not surprised. And this is an opportunity where if you're referring them away and other companies making money, if you're subcontracting them, then great, you're participating in the process. And if you're saying no, you're just missing out on a big opportunity, because every home in America needs heating and cooling. Not every home in America needs solar. Not every home in America needs batteries yet. In the future, maybe. But every home in America does have to have heating and cooling. And it's a product that every single customer that you're talking to, you have a chance to sell, versus other products where it's not guaranteed.
And not only is it not surprising, but it's understandable, right? Because it is at least from my perspective, and I've owned, large solar companies and worked inside of billion-dollar home improvement companies that didn't offer HVAC. It can be a complicated industry, but again, I think that one of the most important principles that we can express today is the ease of entry. That we've broken down those barriers to entry where you can start selling heat pump products to your customers and giving them the absolute maximum benefit for home electrification in minutes.
Yeah, and if I can here, this is sort of that segue where we want to talk about why we're not doing more in terms of that revenue diversification, why we're not offering more of these products. Right now, with the way that the industry is going, a lot of us are trying to hang on, figure it out. You have changes in with the big beautiful bill, and that changed a lot of business models, and that made us get into a smarter, more efficient way of doing business. And I think here, normally, if someone walked up to you and said, "Hey, here's a great opportunity for you at HVAC," you'd say, "Absolutely not." And the reason why we're saying yes to this with Keen is because of the ease with which their platform offers the ability for you to adopt your business into HVAC. And it's just so comprehensive. I don't think that there is a way to do justice to the platform in a presentation. I've been in solar for 16 years, and I knew nothing about HVAC. Spent an afternoon in the platform and was just floored. I mean, everything. This is the equivalent of you taking a roofing company under your wing and showing them how to install solar and make them a profitable business doing it.
Yeah, the next couple of slides, we're just going to talk a little bit more about installations and the why. The big why is the customer acquisition cost, and that's what we're going to be focusing on most as the customers. If I was like Tony Robbins, I'd be charging $3,000 or $4,000 for each of these sessions that we do with the contractors from a training perspective, because we're giving away a whole business. And here you guys have a customer base that you could go to, send out a couple of email campaigns, get some interested parties, and start selling right away. Without our support, it's a challenging hill to climb, but with our support, you'll have everything that you need to know along the way. And so the next slide talks a little bit more about the installation side, and then we're going to get into some specific numbers as to the why. So inside the platform, the whole point of the platform is to have an easy business model where you guys could conduct business. If you're comfortable with sales, you have all these customers, but you're not comfortable in the installations, you can subcontract through the platform. We'll find, if we don't have contractors nearby you, we'll find those contractors, we'll negotiate with them and get you the best possible price for installation. If you were to do this with any other company in America, they'd be skimming off the top. They'd be putting those profits in their pockets, whatever they can negotiate. But whatever we negotiate goes into your pocket. For us, we're motivated to sell equipment. BayWa is motivated to sell equipment. That's how we're making a profit off of this. We don't need a profit off of the software. We don't need a profit on the process. We need a profit off of equipment sales. If we sell equipment, that means you guys are selling equipment and you're making a profit and everybody wins. And so again, this would be several thousands of dollars of consulting work that we're providing at no cost to you to help you start your business and to add on a new product category where it would normally be very challenging. The next slide specifically jumps into customer acquisition cost. And so when you think about solar has the highest customer acquisition cost of the trades. It's not the highest of other product categories, but for the trades, it definitely is. And for HVAC, especially if you're selling to an existing customer base, it could be as low as zero. This time of the year, it's very close to zero. Even if you're doing traditional marketing, it's obviously not. But if you just have a web page up, people will find you because heating and cooling is desperately needed at 2 times of the year, when it's really cold and when it's really hot. Here in the Northeast, we get both of those. And if you're doing traditional marketing, your customer acquisition cost is between $250 to $500 to find an installation customer. To find a service customer, it's as low as $50. And that's closed. Like, you're walking in the door performing a service for them. The nice thing about heating and cooling is it needs ongoing maintenance. Unlike solar, you sell a solar customer, it's very hard to get another penny out of that customer in the future. With HVAC, there's an expectation to have an annual service. And so that could be hundreds of dollars per customer per year that you're bringing in the door. And what else does it provide? It provides another opportunity to sell them another product. So you shouldn't be just a solar and HVAC company. You probably should be a solar, HVAC, battery, car charging station, because they're so simple to install. You're all electricians out there or tied to electricians. You should be offering a multitude of services and have a process for each one of them. And the whole point of the platform, it will grow as time goes on. Right now, we're initially launching the Keen Heat Pump product line with HVAC services. Like Ryan mentioned earlier, roofing will be a part of the platform to give you the tools to quote out roofing. It's already built out, it's already functional. We just don't want it to be a distraction. Car charging stations will be another add-on that's added into the platform, and a few other products and services, all to support this. And so we'll continue building it out as time goes on, as the demand increases. But for now, just think about your customer acquisition cost. And if you could bring in a customer for under $500, and then you could identify what your attachment rate is, and let's say every 7 customers, HVAC customers, wants to go solar, now for the same marketing budget, you could have 7 HVAC customers plus 1 solar customer. So for the same spend, you'll have maybe 6 more customers in that whole process. doubling likely your business. Some of it's going to be a mix of service, some of it's going to be a mix of new installs. But if you could double your revenue with the same marketing budget, that's a win all around. And from a business perspective, that's typically what we call, a company that has a moat around it. That's a little bit different than the average trade company. And if you have a moat, that means you could drive more money out of it. So the next slide talks about that. For any of the business owners here, anybody who's moving on and to the next part of their life, think about this. When you add in HVAC, you're going to get comparable sales value with solar, 15 to 25,000. In Massachusetts, Connecticut, New York, you're talking 35,000 is your average sale. So these numbers are very average throughout the country, but in our neck of the woods where most of you are located, it's significantly higher. And your average profit is probably in line with what you're doing for solar, and your customer acquisition cost could be as low as zero. If we move on to the next slide, we could talk about the business owners in the room about what you're going to be doing to your business. I've now sold 3 companies. Each company I've learned a ton with each step of the way. The first company, I didn't get as much money as I wanted to for it. The second company, I got a little bit more, and this last company, I got exactly what I wanted. And I learned that the first company, I lost millions of dollars because I didn't understand how multiples affect my company. When you're talking about just a solar company, right now, solar is not very favorable. At best, you'll get a 4-time multiple off of your EBITDA. And that your EBITDA is your net profit essentially. And so you take your net profit and you multiply it by 4, that's probably what an investor would pay you right now at best if you have a good company in the solar industry. If you have a good HVAC company, you'll get about an 8-time EBITDA. And I'm not asking everybody here to turn into HVAC companies overnight. That's not the expectation. The expectation is if you're at that end point of your business process and you're about to sell your company in the next few years, is to rebrand immediately as an electrification company. Electrification and HVAC, they're both viewed very similarly. Investors love electrification. They love HVAC. They don't like solar right now. And if you're at that point, you could likely make a few extra $1 million just by this type of a strategy of layering in an additional product into your company, rebranding as an electrification company that does heating and cooling, that does electric car charging stations, and it also happens to do solar. And that's not a negative when you position it from that perspective. And these are some things that we could guide you in, especially if there's any business owners here that are near the end of their process. We're very happy to help you out with that. So let's think about the next 12 months. What do the next 12 months look like? If you guys do nothing, you're going to be in the same situation that you are now, hopefully a little bit better. But this is a challenging year, as everybody's seen. Everybody seems to be doing okay this month, but 4 months ago, everybody seemed to be struggling quite a bit. But we go to the next slide, we could see what the next 12 months could look like. You could be offering all sorts of products. And that one poll question, I think several of you said you're offering like 2 product categories. It's probably solar and batteries. Some of you might be into windows and doors and you happen to do solar. I don't know what your other product categories are, but you should be offering as an electrification company, solar, batteries, HVAC, EV charging, smart panels. These are all things that you should be adding into your product category, maybe even energy monitoring, because it's such an easy thing to add on, and there's people that are curious. And if we can help you make that transition, you're going to be increasing your revenue. It's going to be a learning experience. Learning is always good, gets the brain going. And you're going to be turning your company into an electrification company rather than a solar company. So before I wrap up my little spiel here, there's three steps to start selling HVAC. If we can move on to the next slide, that'd be great. You book a King Connect walkthrough with us. We'll show you the software. We'll show you everything, how it works. We'll talk to you about licensing because every state's a little bit different. For example, in Connecticut, you do have to have an HVAC license, and there's a course, there's a process to get that. In Massachusetts, right next door, it's a 2-day course, and it costs like $300, and you are an HVAC expert, according to the state of Massachusetts. As long as you're selling systems under 10 tons of capacity, and every residential system maxes out at 5 tons of capacity. And so if you have an electrical license, a CSL license, you're qualified to do HVAC work. New York has its own licensing requirements. So we could talk through what your unique situation is. And once we go through this walkthrough, you could then start selling into your base customers. We're tied in with marketing companies, so we could help you with that if you're not good at marketing to your own customers. Hopefully, you know how to email your own customers. If not, we could help you out with that as well. And with these 3 steps and you get that personal touch from us, we can help you through your unique scenario to help churn your company from a solar company into an electrification company, increase your value, and hopefully increase your revenue. Ryan, did you want to
One
add
comment.
anything?
Yeah, one comment on that. You don't necessarily have to have all that licensing in place to be able to sell. If you want to be able to install your own projects, yes, you are going to have those in place, and we can help guide you through that. I can help set that up for you, same way I did it. However, if you want to sell the products, you can book the Keen Connect walkthrough, learn the software, which we will spend plenty of time with you to make sure that we make you an expert in it, and then a little bit of time on your own. If you invest just a little bit of time inside the Keen Home Pro Learning Hub, you can literally competently sell HVAC within hours of this training. So if you can wrap your mind around this time next week, you could viably have your Keen Connect walkthrough booked, completed, and be on the pathway to selling your current customers an entirely different product and building a whole new revenue stream for your company.
Can I pull in Jordan into this? So what does it look like from the BayWa perspective? Like what's the
Yeah,
next
so
immediate step?
so we have, you would be working with your OSRs that you're currently working with now. From our point of view, we would want to bring you in. We would want to talk about your business. John mentioned a great segue into income, making more revenue off of HVAC via revenue diversification. From our side, we're kind of seeing it as, here's a way to become a whole home electrification partner with your homeowners, right? And for us, that means having another quiver, or I'm sorry, another arrow in your quiver to be able to address customer needs. So when they say, well, maybe not the PV right now, why don't you come back in a few months? Okay, maybe we can talk EV charger, maybe we can talk HVAC, maybe we can talk smart panel. There's a whole bunch of ways to one, generate revenue, and two, still service that customer. You have a customer where you have physical product in that you can revisit. So what we'd love to have the opportunity to do is to sit down with you. We can talk about your business. We can talk about how you're facing the market today, the products that you are offering, and the services that you're interested in. Nothing's out of reach. John and Ryan laid out pretty amazingly how powerful and comprehensive the platform is. Like this really is a hard business to get into, and they have literally removed everything that would stop you from saying yes to this. And we understand that there's still going to be questions, and we're happy to sit down with you and to talk about that. And the Keen team has made themselves available as well. So every step of the way, anything you need, any questions you have, your OSRs are ready to have a meeting with you, and they're ready to pull in whoever they need to make the transition for you a lot easier.
Yeah, so like really actionable steps, pull in your OSR, book your Keen Connect walkthrough, sign up for the platform, learn the software, and go from there. That is really awesome. Before we come to the final remarks and the ending of the webinar, I'd like to ask a few more specific questions. John, you talked a little bit. Let's go back. Well, we can stay here, no problem. You talked a little bit about the license requirements. Along those lines, can you maybe elaborate a little bit on the permitting process? What else is there that maybe our customer needs to be aware of?
Yeah, I think any of the solar guys on here will really appreciate this, or solar people on here will really appreciate the fact that HVAC technically can be installed without a permit if it's an emergency. You do have to get a permit for it eventually within 3 days. That's the rule in several states. But typically permitting is less than a week. And so contrast that to solar. The process for solar, as everybody knows, is months and months, and you get so many delays. No city or town in America will stop you from pulling an HVAC permit. No utility will stop you.
I was going to say, you don't have to have the utility's permission to build this.
Yeah,
exactly. And so,
you
like,
have to turn it on in
times
6 months.
I mean, I remember back with my own company having crews like lined up, and then have a job for whatever reason be paused, having a gap in the schedule, like, oh, what am I going to do with these guys? So having diversified work helps out your crews as well to get the crews to be able to be fully engaged. The electricians, you could put them between both jobs. Every single heat pump has to have an electrical disconnect. So there's electrical work that has to be done on every single job. And so it could keep your crews busy, especially in those seasons where you have those holdups for whatever reason.
And another thing you mentioned, on a side note, is like, service. So, what are some of the service requirements for heat pumps?
Yeah, so it's very normal for any homeowner. I mean, we all in this meeting have homes, and we all have to maintain our heating and cooling systems. The easiest systems to maintain are actually heat pumps. Unlike a natural gas system or an oil system that has to have annual cleanings and tune-ups, you technically don't have to do that with heat pumps. But the nice arbitrage here is that the homeowner expects it. So you could take your youngest technician straight out of school, doesn't really know what he's doing, and you could send him to a home and you train him to spray off the coil of the outdoor unit. You clean the air filter on the indoor unit, and you provide this, perceived valued service that the homeowner's expecting, and they're willing to pay, three, four, $500 for that. But it costs you next to nothing compared to another type of a heating and cooling system that could be very expensive to maintain. And so that the nice thing is it provides that ongoing revenue. Every spring, every fall, there's an opportunity to provide that level of service. And it's stuff that you could book months in advance because usually HVAC companies have service contracts. When it comes to the acquisition side, that's the thing that PE companies and buyers love seeing because it's reoccurring revenue. That reoccurring revenue is gold to them, and they will spend a lot of money and give you a very high multiple to obtain that reoccurring revenue. And so that's what I'm saying. You could have strong earnings on the solar side, but without the reoccurring revenue, you're getting a very low multiple, and you get a significantly higher multiple for the value of your company by adding that in.
It's
And it
not
provides
only
work.
John, it's not only the or the recurring revenue, it's repeat business. You can go to your solar customer and show that you're adding HVAC 1 year, 2 years, 3 years down the line. And if you look at the electrification process with all of the potential projects, your homeowners may not all buy that at once. But if you're showing that year one they bought HVAC, year three they bought heat pumps, and maybe they added a few more panels, and then they added batteries, that repeat customer
Interesting.
increases that value as well.
You could qualify that as reoccurring revenue, and that'd be very high reoccurring revenue, right? Because now you're showing a pattern, and something like that could blow that number really high and get extra, $2 or $3 million on a transaction for sure. Yeah, and then it's obviously a touch point. I've seen companies that will package this together. They'll have a service maintenance plan for not just the heating and cooling system, but they'll check in on the solar system. They'll look at the electrical panel. It's all kind of the same type of work, and so it's all correlated, but you could charge a little bit more and have much higher net profits than your competing companies that are just offering some type of a protection plan for one product.
Yeah, and in the lifetime of your business, if you've had 5,000 PV customers, you have 5,000 HVAC customers, 5,000 EV customers. I mean, this is all very repeatable business, and more than half the country has incentives at the state or city level for heat pumps. And the Northeast in particular has very strong incentive programs. So there's also that string to pull in terms of how to make this more palatable for your homeowner as well. So that's a great conversation piece.
Definitely
Especially
check out the
with the summer.
Connected Solutions programs. Yeah, great programs around and subsidized electricity rates and all that your customer can benefit from. And John, you also mentioned like the cheapest customer is one that you already sold to. So that fits in nicely when we talk about repeat business and having a good overall customer experience. I have to ask that question too. What is like a normal commission structure for like an HVAC salesperson?
Yeah, great question. So I think you guys will like this as well. I struggled when it came to solar HVAC or solar commissions, and everybody knows that solar sales reps tend to make more money than they probably should. When it comes to HVAC, it's very normal to pay a very small base and then to pay them a 4 to 5% commission off of the work that's brought in. And so if you have a $10,000 job that's relatively small, you're paying them a $400 to $500 commission on top of their base compensation. You're not seeing outlandish numbers. An average HVAC salesperson is going to make about 100 to 125,000 a year, and that's in the Northeast. In the Southeast, it's going to be obviously a lot less in that territory, and in the Southwest, it depends on the territory, depending on how much money they're going to be making. But budget in anywhere between like 5 and 10% when you combine everything together. The cost to maintain that employee, maybe you have to give them a gas card, or every other perk you give them, it should be less than 10% of your total revenue for that product that you're selling. And so typically the rule of thumb is you spend 5% on marketing, you spend 5 to 10% on sales. And that's your budget for those two categories to have a successful heating and cooling company. And if you do that, you're going to be growing. That's not to maintain. That's a very healthy amount of money to throw at it to create a growth story.
That's awesome. And then final question before we move to our final thoughts and close our webinar. People might know other manufacturers of heat pumps too. So why Keen? This is just something you could address.
Great question. So you're right. There are a lot of options out there. The one thing that we've done that positions us at the top of every manufacturer that's out there is we're the only one that provides a 10-year parts and labor warranty. You'll see 10-year parts warranty is very common. There's one or two manufacturers that even offer a 12-year parts warranty, but none of them offer a labor warranty. And for a newer company or an existing company that's new to HVAC, the time going back into the home to fix a problem, it can be very detrimental when it comes to losing those profits. And so having an insurance policy, which is something that we've paid for, to pay for those mistakes that could happen from a compressor or something like that has a problem with it, it's going to come from our side rather than your side. And so it's going to increase your profits all around. So it's a foolproof system. It's also one of the only systems that has extra capacity built in. So every single system that's installed has extra capacity. So if your sales rep makes a mistake, and in heating and cooling, a mistake could be a big problem. If you undersize a system, it could get very cold in the middle of winter because you can't get enough heat out of it. Our systems are naturally designed to provide much, much more. Some of them are as much as 50% more capacity than what they're actually rated for. And so you could be off by 50% and still provide a comfortable environment for the homeowner, as well as other things that we don't need to get into, like one of the highest turndown ratios, which allows it to be more flexible. So again, if it's oversized on accident, that it could slow itself down. It could slow itself down to about 30% of its rated capacity. So that way, if you put too big of a system, which could cause problems, it'll slow itself down and solve the problem for you. So it's a very versatile system, and it has a lot of different options, which I think the people on this call will like, especially being new to it.
And if you don't mind, I'd like to add just a couple of items. We did think through the development of that heat pump. We've introduced ideas that remove some of the existing components from multi-zone units that allow it to be plugged in directly, which both increase efficiency and reduce SKUs. There's items that make it more versatile for installation, especially for these Northeast homes that have multi-zones feeding different bedrooms. Upstairs, we have longer line set run distances that we're capable of. So when you look at the product comparison, it is far and away better than the competition, not just because it happens to be the most efficient heating and cooling rating out there.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to pull in Jordan one last time for some final thoughts.
Yeah. So first of all, thanks to everybody from Keen for showing up and talking about their incredible platform and product. For everyone that attended, our installer partners, thank you for the time. We see this as an incredible opportunity. The market's wide open right now in terms of HVAC, segueing into PV. There's a lot of HVAC installers. There's not a lot that do PV plus. There's a reason for that, right? It's a steep learning curve, and here's Keen with this super comprehensive platform to really ease your entry. Any part of this business, aside from acquiring the customers, Keen can handle for you. And I think that's something that we would encourage you to leverage early and often, as often as you need, even if it's just to kick the tires. If you're not sure about it, ask questions about it. We've seen a lot of customers who have met with our OSR team. We've brought in Ryan. We've brought in John to have these conversations, and folks that were dead set against it are onboarded and looking into what's next. And I think this is an incredibly powerful tool, particularly in the Northeast. We're talking about higher electricity rates. Summer is especially brutal this year. You're going to see a lot of interest, and typically there is a selling season for HVAC. We may see that season get extended just because of the way that summer's going. So we see a huge opportunity here, not just to have a higher revenue, but to really come in and complete your offering to your homeowner, where they're talking about, sure, there's a lot about greater comfort within the home, but there's a lot about energy consumption and how we can streamline that, lower utility bills. So this is an amazing opportunity to do that with a great partner.
Yeah, echoing that, Jordan, thank you. Like, tremendous opportunity with a tremendous partner. Really appreciate you all being here and sharing this with everyone. You can expect the recording and the presentation and some further resources after the webinar. So 2 takeaways: reach out to your OSR and book your keen walkthrough. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.